All right, everybody, welcome to Live with Lisa. This is my Tuesday Facebook Live that I do every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. And today we have two very, very special guests. I want to introduce you to Jill and Bert, who Jill is one of my former clients. Jill, you look beautiful, by the way. I didn't get a chance to tell you how wonderful you look. And Bert is the wonderful man that Jill met while she was in my 12-week emotionally naked dating course. So this is really exciting because you had such a great result, Jill. And I'm so excited to share both your story and then, bring Bert in. Bert, you're going to probably be there for a moment listening in while I get everybody up to speed. But Jill, welcome. It's great to see you.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and to share my story with everybody, and just a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah. So Jill, let's go back to when you and I met, right? How long ago was that now?
This would have been in December of 2020.
So December of 2020.
Yep.
Wow. So almost a year ago? No, well over a year ago.
Well, almost a year ago. This December it will have been a year, and
Okay.
I am a Christmas baby, or around that time period, and so it was right before my birthday last December, and I had run across your information on Facebook, and I was getting close to my birthday, and I thought, you know what, I don't want to hit my next birthday without trying something different, and so was very excited to be able to watch that and to have a one-on-one session with you, and then sign up for the class.
Yeah. And one of the things that I remember, Jill, that really stood out to me was that you had never done online dating before, ever, when you
Nope.
set up. So lucky you, because you didn't have to go through all the hell and the nightmare stories that a lot of people did online. And Bert's going, yeah. Bert, I know you met online. Did you have a rough time out there when you dated online?
No, this was my first foray into online dating,
Yeah.
and I was really new to this, but I saw what was out there. Yes.
Do you want to tell us what was out there?
Oh, uh, mostly a lot of people who didn't care about their presentation.
Hmm.
Um, I was just surprised at how lackluster their photograph choices were.
Hmm.
They didn't seem to want to impress anyone. Um, I was just shocked.
And where are you both located? What city?
We're in West Virginia, and so we live about 2 hours apart, at least for right now.
Oh, okay. Well, that's all. We'll explore that because that's really something, a lot of women that I meet are just adamant. They don't want a long-term distance relationship. And I know a lot of couples that have gone through the course that have a distance of 2 hours or more, and they make it work. It's pretty incredible. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah. Is it tough? Is it getting old or?
I think we have figured out a good balance. In any given month, there might be a weekend that he's here, or I might go to his place for a weekend. We've done several places where we met in the middle. And then recently, we've just about once a month over the last 3 or 4 months, we've been taking some long weekends and extended vacations. And so we have figured out how to make it work. And, 2 hours in the scheme of things for, hopefully spending the rest of our lives together is nothing.
Yeah, and I asked a couple of personal friends of mine, I said, how did you make it work long distance? Because they had super long distance between them, different countries. And my
Wow.
friend, the man, looked at me and he said, love. He said, we love each other and nothing was going to keep us apart. So I think if two people are mature and they're committed, it's not that big of a deal. And you're busy during the week anyway. You're doing things and you can get together on the weekends and it's something to look forward to. Bert, you were saying that you weren't seeing a lot of good material online. And I'm curious, how long were you online before you met Jill?
It was just a matter of maybe a week or two. That was it.
No way. No way.
True.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, just like my husband. I was like the third person he dated, and I spent literally 2 years and went out on 96 first dates before I met this guy. That's amazing. So you saw that there wasn't a lot of great stuff out there, but you also met Jill very quickly.
Yes, I did. Yes, I
Wow.
did. It was, like I said, it was just a matter of 2 weeks or so, and I stumbled across her profile.
And what did you think of her profile? Because that's a big part of what we do in the course.
It was the picture mostly
Mhm.
that got me. I just felt a real connection. I couldn't explain it, and it just made me want to send her a quick little note, and I did. And I really didn't expect anything back from her because I mentioned it was a long way away from me, and that I wasn't good at these kind of relationships, long distance. And she didn't take no for an answer, and she wrote me back, and that was a surprise.
I wasn't going to let him get off with that. I mean, if he took the time to write to me, but then kind of left it, well, I'm going to give the men a run for your money in your town to date you. And I was like, then put your money where your mouth is, mister.
That's great. That's really great. So you saw him and you said, I'm not just going to take no for an answer.
No, obviously I was trying to, be true to the program. It was really early on in the program when we had connected and started talking. It had been probably about 3 weeks or so, almost 4 weeks into the program. And so, wanted to explore the new tools that I was learning about myself, and to obviously the whole online dating was brand new for me as well, and just being vulnerable, and was really excited just to talk and to see what happened then, and try not to put too much project too much into what might happen or what wouldn't happen.
Mm-hmm. And when we met, Jill, something else I remember is that you had been in the business, you had been in the business world for years, and you had never really had a wonderful long-term relationship that you could point to say, this was the love of my life, or I had this great relationship. And I would love it, not to put you on the spot, but if you'll share a little bit about that, because so many women are so beating up on themselves and they feel stigmatized because of that, and I think that you can give them so much hope by just, sharing your experience.
Sure. Yeah. As you're saying, Lisa, obviously had been in the career world for a long time. I ran a local nonprofit organization. Had shifted from the for-profit world a few years ago, and just had a great group of friends. Had a lot of activities. I play a ton of tennis and exercise, and just had so many things in my life. But the one piece that I could just never really fit into the puzzle was somebody, kind of in my love life, and to find somebody who cherished me and wanted to spend time with me, and just could not get that together. And I think I told you the story. There's an older gentleman that I'm friends with, and every time he'd run into me, he'd be like, "Are you sure you've never been married?" Every time he'd ask me that, I was like, "No, it hasn't changed since the last time you asked me that." And it kind of started to make me feel bad. I was just, I just kept saying, "No, I just must run too fast. They just can't catch me." And it just was something, and that kind of goes back to when I first saw your video and said, you know what, I am not going to get to my 53rd. I can't do the math. We were doing the math last night, but I don't know how old I am half the time. I have to count on my fingers and my toes. to know how old I am, but I was not going to get to my next birthday without giving it a good try and a good faith effort. And, there was no guarantee that at the end of this year that I wouldn't still be alone, but I would have tried, and I would have put myself out there, and I would have a new set of skills and tools, and a new appreciation and love for myself. And so that's how that all started.
That's amazing. I'm so glad that you did this work, because it's amazing when when you do have a step-by-step plan, right? And a real roadmap for finding love, what a difference that can make. And I would love it, Jill, if you could speak to a little bit of, the difference that this made for you and how it helped you actually make this happen in your life.
Well, it wasn't like I hadn't had some relationships, and I know everybody always says, "Well, your picker was off," and I had bad boundaries probably with some past relationships, and didn't have it. They didn't have an appreciation for the relationship the way I wanted it to be. And so I think going through the exercises and the activities to identify some of those repeat behaviors and patterns that we had, that was very eye-opening. And luckily that happens early on in the program. And so you're able to kind of air through all of that, see, some areas where you have maybe gone astray or have not been true to yourself. And that was very eye-opening. And so to go through that process really allowed me to say, okay, I have played a role in this. What have I done to accept those types of behaviors, and what did I get out of, allowing people to not treat me the way that I should be treated. And so for me, I played a role in that too. And so to kind of change my mindset a little bit to say, I am worth finding somebody who will cherish me and treat my heart like a sacred gift.
I love that. That's so beautiful, to treat your heart like a sacred gift. Yeah. And what did your idea of dating shift, through the work with me? Did your idea of how to create a relationship? I know that my paradigm is kind of different than, just going out there and hope, kind of playing the love lottery and just, buying, like, okay, maybe this is my husband, maybe this is my husband. There's a lot more to it than that, right?
It's almost like a little mini part-time job. You really have to put the effort into it, and it can feel overwhelming at times, just because it's so different maybe than what people have done in the past. And obviously it should be very different than what you've done in the past, else you wouldn't be at this spot in your life or reaching out for help from you. And so I was very nervous about dating, very nervous about meeting and talking to people online. Obviously going through dating during a pandemic held a whole new piece of the puzzle. And so I just took it one step at a time, and I didn't assume anything. I said, you know what? I don't know this person. They don't know me, but I'm excited to get to learn more about them. And I hope that they're excited to get to learn more about me. And, if I'm talking to somebody and it doesn't go any further than a couple, text messages or, some interactions on either one of the dating apps that are out there, that's okay. Move on. You can go on, and there'll be somebody else that you can talk to, and hopefully they will want to get to know you.
Well, and there's also, I'm guessing, I know for me anyway, there was something about being very focused and purposeful about this, right? Like not just going out on a date here or there or whatever, but actually having a real roadmap and doing, what was it like that first month in the course is pretty intense. It's not like, some throwaway thing that you just, come in and you're like, okay, now I've got my dating coach and I'm just going to go on dates, and, and she's going to tell me what to say and what to write in a text. We do some of that. And you actually were, I think, didn't you do some great texting? Was that you?
This man is very funny and hilarious, and
Really?
we always had real Really. And we had just a lot of fun banter in our texts, and super intelligent and witty, and
You're
and
so kind.
and we would just have kind of fun with that. And so, yeah, it is. I mean, I set aside time every week to make sure that I was doing the work and the modules and the homework, and being very reflective about it, that I wasn't rushing through things. And so I would devise time in my schedule because it was very important. I had made an investment in myself to do this, and it was obviously, this is something that's going to make a difference for the long haul.
Yeah, I just think back of all the people I've coached and done this course with, and I just remember you, and there was another woman at the same time who was in the course, and both of you were just these superstars. Like
Thank you.
yeah, you both, and you still come up, when I'm in conversation, and you're always forefront in my mind, which is one of the reasons, Bert, I was so excited to do this, is because you found such a great guy, and you're such a beautiful couple. Like, I look at pictures of the two of you and I'm like, okay, I would have put these two people together if I had just a bunch of photos. I probably would have matched these two just on visuals alone, right? But
Thank you.
yeah, you just really stood out, and you were in part of that group. Were you already enrolled in the course when the pandemic hit?
No. So pandemic came, pandemic had already been here, and this was well into it.
Yeah. So even that was courageous for both of you, right? How long were you both, a lot of people have, now that things are opening up and it's shifted a bit, we're back and things are better, right? But I have heard so many women come on calls with me, exploratory calls, and they'll say, yeah, I didn't date because of the pandemic. And you both did this in the middle of the pandemic. What was that like for you, Bert? Like, dating in the middle of a pandemic? Did you do a lot of Zoom calls, or tell me how that was?
I think we talked online and on the phone for quite a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But when we decided it was time to meet, we just took reasonable precautions.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it was too much of a risk, but we both wore masks when we needed to. But we didn't let that slow us down.
You didn't. Was it weird? Did it feel strange, or you just said, this is what it is? And
it really didn't feel strange. It limited some things that we were able to do.
mm-hmm.
Shows and concerts were out, so we had to pick more smaller events and more smaller venues to go to. But other than that, it was more important just to spend time with each other. I think we would have been happy if we just met in a park and just talked for hours.
Really? Wow.
Or a parking lot, which is where we first met.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So you both met and you were chatting on, talking online. And did you do Zoom calls or phone calls?
We did texting through the app, through the dating app, and then we started just texting to each other's phones, and then some FaceTime calls.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we ever did any Zoom calls between the two of us, but then in person, and from there.
Were you dating multiple people? Were you dating multiple people as prescribed?
Yes, I was. He's, and so Bert's famous saying is, "Whatever happened before me was before me and doesn't factor into me." But yes, I did, and so I did have some Zoom dates as part of that process with a couple other gentlemen, and so that's interesting because you get to see somebody. As opposed to just hearing their voice, and it was obviously everybody was Zooming for work, and it was interesting. So yeah, but it was just another way to communicate.
And did you go out on any other dates, or did you just what you did?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So you really did follow the structure of the course.
You're going to get me in trouble, Lisa.
I know, I feel that. I
No.
think
No.
nothing was really, there was nobody that compared, and that you knew that very quickly. But, one of the reasons we advise, Bert, that women date multiple men and don't just dive into the first guy, the first guy that they get excited about, is because there just are so many hurdles, and women tend to be anxious daters, and not Jill specifically, but by and large, women have a lot of anxiety when they date. And so we will really start to spin out and get ahead of ourselves and overthink things. I don't know if you had much of that, Jill, but
I would have before going through this program. I was the anxious dater, total anxious. Everything was, if XYZ, if he didn't call or didn't text, what did I do to cause that? What's he doing? Who's he doing it with? Where is he? Why hasn't he responded immediately to, my witty comment or my texting? And so I would have been previous to this, but Bert is very secure. And I think dating somebody who is secure makes me super secure. I think it'd be interesting to go back through the book now and take the test again. I would think that I would maybe land a little differently on the scale.
Wow, interesting. Yeah. So you were anxious. So Bert, one of the reasons we do that is so that a woman can sort of mitigate some of the anxiety, because she's not just focusing completely on one person and putting all of her energy and attention on one guy. And so if you weren't texting, let's say, and that woman was like, wow, I really like Bert, and why, and they're going crazy and they're anxious. And, of course, texting doesn't help any of this, right? Texting and Facebook just make us more neurotic. So it helps to have our clients dating more than one person so that they don't do that. It sort of helps them get past all of that. So you seem very secure, and as Jill said, you are, but it can be
for a while that there was no expectation of exclusivity. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And how was that for you, having no expectation of exclusivity?
When? Now?
No.
No. I don't.
You're kidding. I fell for it.
No. Ask me your question one more time.
No, but I think what you're saying is, in the beginning, there was no expectation of exclusivity. And so that made it easier. There was no pressure.
And we concentrated on really just getting to know each other. And I think communicating by phone and by text, even though I know text leaves out the facial expressions, it leaves out the tones. It still gave us a chance to get to know each other inside rather than just the exterior view of each other.
Yeah.
And so I knew that I liked who she was inside long before I really knew what she looked like outside, because it was weeks before we actually met in person.
And if it hadn't been for the pandemic, would you have met sooner?
I don't know. I think at one point we agreed we liked getting to know each other over the phone and text first, just so we know that we wanted to take that next step to meet in person.
And may I ask you, I'm assuming that you love this woman, or we wouldn't be here.
I do.
I don't want to make any assumptions, and that there's a real, that this is a real partnership, that the two of you really see a real future. Is that true together? Is that part of the plan here? What made you fall? When did you know that this woman was different than other women and special for you? And what was it about Jill that made you fall in love with her?
That's a really hard question, because there was just something in her profile picture that it just made a connection with me. I couldn't explain it, and that made me write her. And I think it was as we began to talk, um, I think we began to see more and more areas which we were very much alike, and areas where we were different, but I really found exciting. I like the fact that she is a type A personality. She's always a go getter. I like the fact that she has her own life away from me. She has friends. She has her sports. She has her work. She's very accomplished. She's extremely confident. And the more I just soaked all that up, the more and more I felt.
That's amazing. And see, that's what women want to hear, that a man like you is really wants a woman like that. I think what we hear a lot, Bert, today, what women hear, we get a lot of messages, right, Jill, that it's not okay to be successful and confident and independent and all, right?
Yeah, sometimes you have to kind of push some of those characteristics and traits beneath the surface, and you're not being true to yourself because. And maybe that's a little bit of the anxious dater too, to say, this person, if I show them truly who I am, they will leave, or they will not want to get to know me once they see all these traits about me. And this man, we can reveal just about anything to him, and he loves the whole package. And same here. I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but the same. I mean, same here. Just the opportunity to get to know another person the way we have, and every day it's something different, and we laugh a lot, and just have great shared experiences over the last 10 months.
Yeah. And I'm curious, Jill, what is it that made you fall in love with Bert?
So obviously I loved his first message to me that he sent to me, and obviously that started us on the path of just wanting to get to know this man. And as we were texting back and forth, he's so intelligent and so caring and generous with his time and his energy and his heart. And he had been a school principal, and so I am a middle school tennis coach on the side, and so we shared at least a little bit of that humor of dealing with teenagers. And then the more time I spent with him, part of what I was looking for in the person, when we talk about, our final five, was at the top of my list was somebody who can share their feelings and isn't scared to share their feelings and wants to know mine as well. And he is that hook, line, and sinker.
That's amazing.
And the other four of the five.
And for anybody who's listening, the final five is a process that we do in week 3 of my course. Bert, I'm sure Joe has shared this with you. It is a pattern breaking exercise. And what we do is we look at repeating patterns in relationships, and they tell us where we're not learning a lesson, right? Anytime there's a pattern that repeats in someone's life, you're the common denominator. And the way to move forward in a new way is to identify those patterns and then be able to make a conscious, concerted effort to break them. And so immediately, once you identify what the final five are, it already starts to elevate the quality of the men that you're attracting and are attracted to, because you now have this very clearly defined list of 5 things that you can't compromise on, that you can never compromise again on any of those 5. And women come back years later and will say to me, Lisa, it was the final 5. Like, that's the thing that did it. That helped me. I don't know if that was your, part of what was successful. Somebody in the chat asked if, what was the part of the program that you had that was the most impactful for you, Jill?
The final 5 by far. And after we went through that exercise and identified those patterns that I had fallen into repeatedly, or the characteristics in the people that I was picking, and what I was settling for by kind of falling for those patterns, I went back to my final 5 and I read them every single day. There was a tremendous amount of clarity that came from that exercise that allowed me to say, this is the person that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
The reason that I've looked or been with people that don't have these characteristics before has not been good for my heart or my soul. And so I need to find somebody who has these characteristics, at least as a benchmark to identify, because that's the person that I need to explore being with, or at least getting to know better. And so, going through the dating process, when we started dating and started talking with Bert and I, that it was fun to ask questions and have conversations about the final 5 topics, so that I could start to kind of peel that onion and see, okay, does he fit this characteristic, this trait that I have identified as being important to me? And by asking questions and having really deep conversations, it was so enlightening to be able to slowly check off those boxes. And we were talking last night. I told him probably after our second date, I was talking with a girlfriend of mine, and I said, I will be a fool to let this man get away. And so even then, I suspected he had most of the final 5, or at least was getting there. And then as we kept talking and developing that relationship, was able to discern that relatively quickly.
Yeah. Well, he has such a great energy. I mean, I think it's, there's already a certain gravitas, just you do, having spent time with a lot of men. I think that there's a lot there that's just immediately apparent. Wow. And somebody mentioned that the relationship inventory leading to the final 5 was also really impactful. Was it for you as well, Jill, going through all of that?
Yeah, I think just, having honest discussions with yourself about, what those types of characteristics that were the nice to haves versus the have to haves, and knowing that there's another person on the other side of the equation that also has their relationship inventory, and are you fitting in those characteristics that they're looking for? And so that inventory was a great tool.
And one other thing I know that I've really built into the course, which I think is one of my favorite parts, is starting to understand and humanize men instead of seeing them as other and like these foreign beings, that are all of the stories that Bert, we make up a lot of stories, just like men make up stories about women and how we operate. One of the pieces of this course is learning how to really see men as human beings, and with fears and struggles and challenges just like we have. And so, Jill, was that also eye-opening for you, some of those things?
Obviously, at the top of my final 5 was somebody who was willing to talk about their feelings. And I so appreciated the honesty and the conversations that Bert and I had. And just, I was amazed because I had never, ever had these types of conversations with any other man in my life before. And then vice versa too. My ability to open up and to share things about myself, I had never done that before. And even now, there's sometimes we'll say to one another, I've never told anybody that before. And to be able to share those things and know it's in a trusted space, it's, safe and it's taken to heart, very important.
Yeah. And Bert, did you, I have had some men when I've done these interviews say that they felt very different. They felt differently about the way the client, the woman that had gone through the course, they really felt that her listening and the way she was being was different than some other women that they had been with in the past. And it
Yeah,
gave them,
the level that we've been able to connect
yeah,
and speak and listen to each other. No, I haven't had that with anyone else.
no one else. Yeah. And it's something as a man that you wanted, I'm guessing that you've always wanted. It's not because you're emotionally unavailable. I'm guessing that it's something that with the right person, you were wanting to do that. Is that true?
That's absolutely true. I think we all want that.
Yeah.
Um, Although I think many times we can't articulate it like we would want to. But I think that we all want someone that we could share our deepest feelings with, who makes it safe to do so. Um,
Yeah.
and so I found that in Jill.
And do you
She had my
find
final five.
you had your final five? And I don't know if you would share this or not. Had you ever done any work on your own, read some books, or any kind of interpersonal?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm a lifelong learner, and I'm always looking at trying to improve myself and looking at my listening skills, looking at my conversation skills, looking at how I relate to other people. Sure, sure. I'm always reading and learning about that.
Yeah, that's really powerful for women to hear because so many women feel like we do all the work and men don't do, they're not woke and they're not listening, and in some ways it is true that women are so keyed into this. I mean, this is all we talk about when we get together is, relationship, 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 relationship,
Mhm.
right? This is what we live for, but it's just, it's amazing to hear, so many of the men that my clients attract are men like you who have done work on themselves and are really attuned to this. And it makes a difference, right? I mean, for
Mhm.
both of you, it makes a real difference.
When part of one of the exercises and the things I think that we had talked about on one of our group calls was about the love languages. And so I, kind of interjected that in a conversation at some point in time. And he starts rattling off what they all are. And he's, he pegged me, he already knew what my love language was. And so, I so appreciate that because I didn't know any other man who would ever even know what that was. And here was one who knew it, knew what his was, knew how important that was to be able to talk to your partner. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Amazing.
Bert, a couple of women posted in the chat and asked if you had been married before. So
Yes, I have.
yeah. So
I've
this,
done,
yeah. So yeah. And I don't know if you've never been married, Jill, right?
No, never married. Never close to being married. No.
Wow.
No, and actually we were talking about that last night. I asked him, I said, was that a red flag to you that I had never been married? And
absolutely not.
he says, absolutely not.
Well, he gets the benefit of no like ex-husbands and no, none of that, right? You get to you come in free and clear, but it wasn't even a thought for you, Bert. You didn't skip the fact that Jill had never been married. It didn't
No,
matter.
it didn't bother me one single bit. No, actually, it made me. I was very much complimented by the fact that she told me at one point, because when we were talking, I asked her if she'd ever been married before. She said no, and when you mind sharing a little bit, and she just said, I've never felt like I wanted to get to that point with someone before, and that spoke to me.
Yeah.
In a way that I'd never been spoken to before, that someone who had turned down others, who lived her life and hadn't found someone that special before, thought she saw that someone special in me. That was a lot to me. So no, that red flag never came up.
Never came up, never even occurred to you. Well, and I
No.
think you two are both so mature. It's like, you can trust what you see with your own two eyes. And you know, you trust your own two ears and you're not making up a bunch of stories and guys don't do that as much as women do either. Women are on dates and we're like looking and checking. We've got all these things that we're like trying to figure out. And was it just fun from the start? When the two of you met, was it really easy from the very beginning?
Absolutely. No, it really was. I'm being silly. It was fun. It was engaging. We did a walk down memory lane last night in anticipation of today, kind of.
Are you going to tell?
No, we were walking through like, oh, you remember our first date and we did this, and our second date we did this, and I obviously must have had some amnesia someplace back in April or May, because I completely forgot an entire date that we went on and what we did on that date. And he had to keep prompting me. He's like, no, we did this and that and the other. And so, no, we just have fun. And I think the whole opportunity to, be apart, where we are still living apart, at least right now, it makes me look forward to the times that we're together. And, not that they all have to be unicorns and rainbows and that much fun, but it's still real life. And so, we were on I was on a work vacation / work and vacation event here a couple weeks ago, and he joined me for part of that. And so that was our first opportunity to really kind of live together for 4 and 5 days in a row and see what that would be like. And and we're here today. We both made it out alive.
You survived.
We survived, but it was great. And it was just one more step on our path of learning about one another. Me, obviously, never having been married, never having lived with anybody before, he calls it having somebody in my space, and what that's like. And I'm excited about that. And so it was a real learning opportunity for me to realize that this is what I want, and to see what this looks like.
Wow. And Bert, how was it? Was it great for you as well? Just being
yes. This has been, to me, I think we've even said there's no work involved. We just enjoy each other's time. We enjoy each other's company. This has been very easy.
Very. Any fighting? Any arguing?
When we play backgammon.
Yeah, she cheats.
He rolls an incredible amount of doubles. He has loaded dice. Loaded dice. I'm sure of it. We fight when we play backgammon.
I wouldn't call it fight when only one person yells.
No fight, no art. Fun and playfulness, and it's open and easy and joyful, and everything that you would really long for, right? And hope that a relationship can be. This is so.
I think the age that we're both at, I think that helps a lot too. There's a sense of maturity, and we're not playing games here. This is about finding the person that you want to be the first person that thinks about you in the morning, and be the last person who thinks about you when they're going to bed at night, and the adventure that happens in the 24 hours in between those two time frames. And I don't know, it's just, it works. And he makes me feel amazing. Everything about him just is everything I ever was looking for.
Every
human form.
Everything, like look at each other, you don't want to fix each other or change each other. There's just, you see each other with love, right?
Yeah, there's not a thing I would change in her.
No, I mean, if there are differences, and there are, obviously, I mean, we're not, a yin and a yang, but there are differences, but that's what makes us unique. And that's, what makes it fun to learn more about one another, and to see those opportunities as learning experiences and part of the growth as a couple. We're partners.
Most, so few people get this. So few people actually have what the two of you have. Very few. Very few. And,
I've often
Benjamin,
said I'm very lucky.
well, I think you both just did the work. You did what you needed to do, and you've both been through life experiences. You've learned from your life experiences. You've become better people for those things. And clearly, it sounds that you both take responsibility for, whatever struggles or failures that you've had in your past. You've looked at yourselves and matured and grown from that. And that's really what we're all hoping for, right? Is just
Yeah.
to go through our lives and our life experiences, and however hard or whatever we've gone through, just to become always better people, for having gone through those things. And then be able, for me, when I did the work that I had taught, the things that I taught you, Jill, my goal when I dated was, I'm going to go out, I'm going to use this experience to let go of any baggage I still have, so I don't bring that into my relationship. I realized that I don't want to put my stuff on my partner, which is what a lot of us do. And, the therapeutic model of relationship is that two people are going to meet, and then they're going to work out their mother daddy issues, right, with each other, and then wind up in therapy to sort it all out. And that is the therapeutic model, that you attract a partner. That's like the Harble Hendricks thing. I don't know if getting the love you want or keeping the love you find, but that is really the therapeutic model of relationship, is that two people are drawn together because they have, issues where they trigger each other, and then they bring those old issues up to the surface so that they can see them and process through them. What a horrible thing to do in relationships. If I had a problem, I'd go see a therapist. I don't even want Benjamin working through my stuff with me. Like, he can work through his own stuff, but I don't want to do that with my partner. And so, it's so beautiful. My husband calls this, Bert, a guardian of your soul relationship, that you are guardians of each other's souls. And the difference between a soulmate and a guardian of your soul is, a soulmate is a noun, right? A soulmate is a noun. It's like a thing that you're looking for. A guardian of your soul is a verb. It's an action, right? It's something you do. And so guardians of each other's souls really want to nurture whatever, the soul of each partner really, what you see that Jill's soul needs, so that she can flourish and feel safe to be all that she can be in this life. And that she does the same for you, right? Like, if you needed to go away and travel, or, I don't know if you have kids, I didn't ask that, but, if you needed to spend time with kids or with, whatever, and you needed to do those things, that she would not get in the way of, what your soul needs, and she would make room in the relationship for that.
Definitely. That, I would think that defines us. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because I know, he's going to have interests and activities outside of us, and those things are important to him. And it doesn't, there's no jealousy. There's no reason to get in the way of that. That makes him a better person at the end of the day, that walks back into our relationship.
Yeah. So you guys have a long, beautiful life ahead of you together. Many, many really good years. How exciting is that? Do you both kind of pinch yourselves and just think, how did we get so lucky? And
yeah, I wish I had met him so many years ago, and that's something that we say a lot. That's the only regret. That's the only regret I have, is that we didn't meet each other sooner. But I wasn't at the point in my growth and development as a person or as a potential partner, that maybe I would have even recognized it or been the person that I needed to be as part of our partnership. And so that we say all the time, that's our only regret, is that we didn't meet sooner.
I know. Isn't that, you just wish once you find your person, it's like, oh, if we could have only figured this out sooner. Benjamin and I just celebrated 19 years together. And we were saying, we went to Sicily for my birthday, and we were saying that our only regret is that we can't go back and do it all over again, because it's been so much fun that we would just do anything to go all the way back to 19 years ago and just do this whole thing, all over again. Bert, one thing I would love to ask you, as a man of, as a quality man, and the kind of man that my clients would do anything to meet. If you had anything to say to women, mistakes or things that as a man that you look at women or you say, gosh, I just wish women knew this. Or, what would you say to a woman who's single and really she's online, she's desperate, she really wants to find a Bert to spend the rest of her life with? What do you notice about us that we could really improve upon?
That's a hard question. One that I've never thought of before. The only thing I would say, the only mistake is don't give up, because a lot of the men that I know are like me. There are men who like to share their feelings. There are men who can talk about other things except sports. There are men who think that it's more important to please your partner than doing something that you just want to do yourself. Because I would get more enjoyment out of life seeing her happy than I ever could doing something on my own by myself. So I would just say, don't give up. We're out there. You just got to look for us.
Open, right? When a man is, I know you really, did you do much dating? Did you date much?
I did some. I did some. Yeah.
And did you notice, like, you chose Jill, which you have great taste, if I do say so myself. But, of the women that you didn't choose, and there were certainly reasons, did you notice certain, like, any consistent, like, things that I know like some of the women just jump into bed too quickly. Some of the women are over anxious and don't give the man, they're so busy trying to get to a relationship that they don't even give the guy a moment to catch up. What did you notice?
If I had to pick one thing that I noticed that was not attractive to me, I'll say two. And I told you. One is someone who is extremely negative. I'm a very positive person, and I just can't stand someone who drags me down all the time. I'm very positive. I want my life. Life is meant to be enjoyed, and I want that. The biggest problem that I've seen that would chase me away would be women who drag previous hurts from other relationships to where I have to pay for somebody else's sin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you feel like you're trying to trip over yourself to prove that you're not, or that would be the result, is that a guy would have to be trying to prove that he's not the last guy.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. And that's really, it doesn't get you anywhere. You can't do that. They have to.
You don't enjoy life doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It just takes all the joy out of relationship. Yeah. And did you ever find that there were women who were too anxious, who were, over anxious, or who were grilling you? What do you want? And what are you looking for? And, who were really, you didn't come across that.
No, I didn't come across that.
Yeah. Good.
So I can't speak to that.
I'm so glad. So
no one ever asked me about what I was looking for.
They didn't.
No.
Would you have liked that?
Except Jill.
Yeah. Do you want to know something? You're the second guy that said that. You're the second man, and I don't know if you agree with this, but one of the men who is with, a woman who graduated the course, he said, one of the things that I loved about Cassie was that she asked me what I was looking for, and she really listened and she really cared. And he said, I didn't even know that a woman, I was always the one trying to make the woman happy. And I thought that was my job. And I never even really thought about like that a woman would be equally as concerned that I would be happy as well. And that she would want to do those things that I would be looking for me. He said it was a revelation.
Yeah. I never even thought about, I'll steal your term, my final five until I heard Jill talking about hers. And that made me start to sort my final five out.
That's great. Wow. That's really wonderful. Breaks my heart a little bit because, the joy that we get, when we're both really in an unconditionally loving relationship where we really both want to make each other happy is so gratifying, and men deserve just as much as women do to get their final five met. So yeah, well, I'm glad you found somebody that can love you and do that for you, Bert. That's so beautiful. What's the future look like? Are you just taking it one day at a time? Are there conversations about what this might look like, or plans? Are there any of those, or are you just in the now?
Nope, there's lots of conversations about the future and what that looks like.
First step is me moving closer.
Oh,
yeah,
that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Because right now we're still 2 hours apart,
Mm-hmm.
and we want to be in the same city, in the same area, so we can have even more time together as we move forward. But yeah, there are definitely plans for the future.
Yeah, I'm excited to have him at least close by for, what real dating and real connectedness looks like on an everyday basis in the same town, and being able to spend more time that way as opposed to making, a big effort of everything. I don't even say it's an effort. It's fun when we get together and do things. I know now I'm getting the look. But yeah, that's the first step. And, we've obviously talked about even beyond that.
Somebody wrote how they be doing the moving closer. How you be doing that?
How are we going to do that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm retired, so I can do anything I want. So I'm moving here.
That's fantastic. Congrats. Well, I didn't even know that.
I don't have a job that's going to keep me down in any one particular place. My kids are all grown. They're out of the house. They have their own lives. And so I can do whatever I want to, and I'm choosing to move here.
That's wonderful. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm just so thrilled. And of course I get to see the fruits of my labor through this, by getting and sitting and being able to connect with both of you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing this. Bert, what is Jill's love language?
We are both words of affirmation, number one.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
That's really, really sweet. Oh, I love that. So there's lots of wonderful compliments and acknowledgments and
yes.
praising, and it must be beautiful to be around the two of you. Just because
we talk a lot, and that was one of the things early on in our dating. I mean, we still do it now too. I got this deck of cards that has conversation questions on it, and so anytime we were talking on the phone, we'd do 2 or 3 of them, and I really think that it allowed us very succinctly to learn a lot about each other on different topics. Some things were whimsical, some things were more in depth, some things had a lot to do with childhood or future plans and goals and aspirations. And I mean, we would do those every time we had a chance, and we still have part of a stack to get through, but we love doing that. And we did that on our trip where we were together for 5 days living together. And it's just, I don't know, great opportunities.
Is that the one, conversation starters or something? It's
there's a couple different. This is a box of cards. That have different questions
on Amazon. I think they're called conversation starters, and they're really great.
Yep.
There's a bunch of different ones.
And it applies to early in a relationship, or even once you're in a committed relationship with one another. So
that is so cool. Oh, you two. I wish we could keep going, but I will say, if you ever want to come to Santa Fe, we have just the most beautiful place here, and we have a guest house which is completely private, so you wouldn't disturb us in the least. Have you been to Santa Fe, either of you?
No.
This is one of the most beautiful places on the planet. I mean, in this whole country, Santa Fe has a very special and unique charm because of the landscape and the Native American influence. It's really, really amazing. So we have this very private guest house, and you probably wouldn't even have to see us or talk to us if you didn't want to. You could have go to dinner with us if you want to. But it's really lovely, and one of the perks of buying this property was that we have this beautiful guest house that we can offer to people, and it would be an honor if you ever want to get just a little getaway. Santa Fe is really awesome. So please take me up on it. We haven't gotten to meet in person, Jill. I would love that. And I know, Bert, you and my husband would really click. You would really like him. He's an absolutely extraordinary man. So, he's just one in a billion. So,
that would be nice.
Really, really like him. Yeah, you're cut from the same cloth. So, yeah. Well, thank you both. I'm Lisa Shield. This has been Live with Lisa, and I do this every, Tuesday at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. I have to keep changing from Pacific Time because we just moved from LA a while ago. So Mountain Time. And I also do another Facebook Live, which is Lunch with Lisa. That's Monday from 12 to 12:30 Mountain Time. And then I also do my very favorite Facebook Live, Bert. If you do want to meet my husband, we do one called Getting Inside the Right Male Mind. And we do that on Sundays at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. And that's an hour long. I created it so that I could get my husband to sit down for an hour on Sundays and just get him to talk. It was my ploy, but we've grown to really love them, and we talk about all kinds of amazing subjects. And Benjamin just has a very beautiful way of articulating things that I think a lot of men feel. So you may enjoy it. You may want to tune in for one. And then thank you. And I also have a podcast called Dating Without Drama. So anybody who wants to look for my podcast, you can find me there. Thank you again, both of you. This has been such a joy. Jill, I'm so grateful. And Bert, these are really meaningful to me for so many reasons. So thank you for taking time, and take me up on my offer to come to Santa Fe. Okay.
Thank you.
And thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, I wouldn't offer it if I didn't mean it, because then people do come, and then you're like, why did I do that? And I've learned better. But I really, truly mean it. If you ever want to come, this is one of the most beautiful places you'll ever see. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much. We'll be in touch.
Thanks, Lisa.
My pleasure. Thank you both. And please give me a thumbs up or a heart if you enjoyed this conversation. I love to see the hearts and the thumbs up. I love approval as much as anybody. So don't be shy. And we will see you all next week. Bye-bye.